Welcome to the 3 Gig Sports Podcast, where we are never wrong, just sometimes misinformed. Sitting alongside Rio and Jim are here today, and what we're going to bring to you is our season-ending NFL picks for MVP and different things like that to kind of close out our NFL talk. But before that, I'm going to go ahead and kick her over to Jimmer to get you some news and notes. What's going on?
Well, we're going to go ahead and kick it off with Irv Smith Jr. will miss most, if not all, the regular season after surgery on his meniscus. We do have Packers Saints to play in Jacksonville week 1 due to Hurricane Ida damage.
Yeah, so the thing to tag on to that is week 1, that's a big deal, but bad news for the Saints is it sounds like they will not play a home game until at least after their bye week. So we're talking damn near half the season. And I tell you what, that hurts. That hurts the Saints. That hurts my picks on the Saints as well.
Yeah, most definitely.
We have Ohio State Buckeyes quarterback Quinn Ewers has a nil deal worth $1.4 million, source says.
It's crazy. All to sit out this year.
Yeah, no, we don't have to.
Won't play a snap yet.
That is so much money.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
We have Washington Nationals VP Boone Resigns over team's COVID-19 vaccine requirement, source says. OSU last night rallies back to beat Minnesota 45-31. Mohamed Ibrahim, big night cut short by a lower leg injury in the third quarter. That was with Ohio State's new quarterback there. He didn't throw a single pass last year and started off rough. He did. But then he came booming back.
Yeah, it looked good. I think their receiving core is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, loaded for sure.
Ohio State, a little bit of a rough game, but they got the W. Do you think it says more about the potential for Minnesota this year, though? They didn't look bad.
They didn't. It's just, I don't know. They lost a lot of talent last year, and I think that showed right there. Like, the one guy that they were leaning on up until his injury, I think they were either ahead or they were still in the game before it turned 45-31. So.
Sure. Yeah. I think it comes down to their defense, because Ohio State keeps reloading, right, every year, 5 stars, 4 stars. But they were Big Ten worst, 304 yards per game. Only returned 5 starters on defense. I think it holds them back a little bit, but
that receiving core for Ohio State is ridiculous. It made C.J. Stroud's night a hell of a lot easier to try to bounce back from that rough start. By the way, I just got to say his hometown is Rancho Cucamonga, California. It's just a sweet name.
Beautiful.
Put that out there. So then we're on to Malzone. Gus Malzone leads UCF back from 21-point deficit against Boise State in his debut with the university.
It's crazy.
Wide receiver David Patton, 3-time Super Bowl winner with the New England Patriots, dies at 47.
Sad.
I didn't see exactly what it was from. What was that, Chris?
I believe that was a motorcycle accident.
Okay. That is sad. Prayers up. Buffalo Bills will not renew a stadium deal in July 2023 when their lease is up without a new stadium deal.
Who is that?
Bills
Mafia. I got my sweater ready in case my boys let me down. Oh, yeah, dude.
In case your boys let you down?
Yep.
Well, so who's your backup team if Josh Allen goes down? Who's your third backup team?
There is none.
There isn't? Washington football team?
It will never happen.
5-time Pro Bowler Jarrell Casey announces retirement after 10 seasons in the league between the Titans and Broncos. Defensive tackle. And Clint Capella of the Hawks agrees to a 2-year, $46 million extension.
Key piece right there.
And that's what definitely. I got.
All right. So, here we go. This episode, we're bringing you some MVP picks, just end-of-year winners, and award winners here, and some dark horses as well. I'm going to go first, and MVP, starting it right out of the gate, Matt Stafford. I think Matt Stafford's going to come out, and like I've said before on previous podcast, show his worth. He's going to prove he's just not a stat stuffer on a bad team. and he's gonna light up the league, I think, and he'll be the league MVP. I do have for my dark horse my boy Dak. I think if you look at his records, he was on record to set some crazy passing stats last year until his injury, and that was partly because the defense was bad. But still, I think he's got definitely a chance now. Probably more realistic, I can see him being a comeback player, coming off a gruesome injury like that.
Yeah.
But I do like his ability with that offense to put up some big time numbers. I want to see him go.
I have to ask you a question. Then I got to. I have to ask you a question.
Right. Put it out here.
And that's got to be. When's the last time you seen the goddamn MVP of the league be on a sub 500 team?
No way.
I'm just curious. I mean, not even definitely not a 10-win team.
So we're betting on that, right? $100. Cowboys are better than 500.
I said we bet with that hair, son. You want to bick it? Let's bick it.
You want to bick it? Cowboys have more than 500.
The MVP.
Oh no! Wait, what?
sub 10 wins then. I think that's fair. What'd you have him at 12? I think you did. I think you had him 12, 13 wins.
Not me.
What'd you have him at?
I probably had him at 12. Actually.
I think you did have him at 12 because I remember you saying it.
I was gonna say.
I'm giving you 2. I said they won't get to 10.
You said 500.
I said they won't get to 10 now.
Well, now you're changing it.
No, I'm not changing it.
You are changing it.
Jesus.
What are you talking about? You said less than 500, and now you want to.
They will be. You know what? What are we going on it?
Okay. What
are we going on it?
That's my picks. They're right there. What?
A bet
on the 500, right?
Cowboys they have to be 9-8. That's what you can't get 500 anymore.
Oh yeah, I'll do $50 on that right now.
50?
Yep. Do 50. There's
there
a first bet of the year. $50
official bet. Let's go.
All right.
Better chalk that up as a victory towards me. Yeah. We called this investment, and I'm going to have to pay taxes on it now.
Oh, I'm reporting you if you do win. I'm reporting you to the IRS.
Business expense, baby. It's all right.
Do you want to keep rolling with the rest of yours?
No.
Or you want to go around?
Yeah, we'll go around. Let's hear what you got.
Yeah, let's go. So MVP this year, Patrick Mahomes. I think he's the most likely choice. They made a lot of improvements on that offensive line. They just look good. They're going to be motivated by getting their asses whooped last year in the Super Bowl. I think he destroys a lot of records this year, especially because we're going to 17 games. We got to factor that in too, right? There's going to be a lot of records broke this year just because we went to 17 games, especially in the passing end, right? You could talk about passing yards, touchdowns, receiving yards, all those different things. There's going to be some things happening. But ultimately, Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs. My dark horse, I kind of have 2 here. So I threw Justin Herbert out there, but then I'm thinking actually he's probably up there in the favorites to win MVP. I think he's going to take a step up. So I went back and I said, okay, who else? Since this is basically a quarterback award, I went to Matt Ryan. I think he's got another shot of getting the MVP this season. With all the weapons, their defense wasn't super improved, so I think they're going to have to score a lot of points, and he's going to play a lot better this year. So dark horse would be Mr. Matt Ryan. Definitely not Dak Prescott.
Well, the Falcons are definitely not going to have 12 wins. Can we say that?
The Falcons definitely aren't going to be 500. So I have to go back to my previous statement.
They're going to be definitely under 500.
No MVP, I'm pretty sure. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure no MVP has ever gotten it with a sub 500 record. It hasn't happened.
So your knock so far to both of us has been no MVP because neither team is going to be over 500.
Right.
He's got.
Well, they have to win. Man. That's the point. That's my point. They have to win.
I think so too. They do.
You can throw up 1,000,000 yards. It don't matter. You can throw 1,000,000 touchdowns too. Right. But if your team is sub 500, you're not even a playoff team.
Correct. I think you got to lead your team to the playoffs, and
at
that's
least
exactly where Dak and company will be.
Here we go.
Okay, mediocre Minnesota over there.
Ooh,
we're getting a little chippy already.
All these already.
Here we go. I was trying to be nice, but
what do you got, Jimmer?
So I think this MVP is actually hands down, barring injuries, is Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you have a few that are going to receive votes because unanimous is pretty damn rare in the NFL, but Patrick Mahomes, as long as he stays healthy, there isn't any better in the business. And I hate to say that because I work with plenty of Chiefs fans that annoy the shit out of me.
Shout out Coco, Eric White, Gary Smith, all you fuckers.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and, you know what? I have my previous dark horse MVP was Matthew Stafford. I'm going to, you know what? Erase that.
Ouch.
Kirk Cousins.
What?
Baby.
What? No way.
Why not?
Love
'Cause
it.
it won't
Chalk
be.
it up.
It was-
Let's go.
I'm
No.
being serious.
That's horrible.
No, a couple years ago, he was in the MVP conversation when he was rolling. He had hell, last year. Just look up last year's stats. 4,265 yards, 35 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. His completion percentage, 67.6%. Now, are we talking a different Kirk Cousins if that defense didn't get banged up? And then we get the wins that I was just talking about? I don't even think it's that far-fetched, to tell you the truth. If they do what they look like they can do, as in on the defensive side, and he can just – he doesn't even have to he would have to actually get the 35 touchdowns. He would have to get that for the MVP conversation, but he has to play mistake-free football for the most part. And yeah, I feel pretty confident with that, as barring injuries. Hell yeah! And first off, he doesn't miss games, so yeah.
You know what? I think they know they're gonna have to run that rock a whole lot, and you have a decent defense. That's why I'm guessing I'm knocking it more than. Of course, y'all are Vikings fans, but I think they're gonna run the rock a whole lot. They have a great ground game, you know.
I would turn to my other guy, but we all know the MVP, unless you do something stupid, ridiculous, like over 2,000 yards rushing, or which could happen this year. It really could. I mean, an extra game, Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
You could, but you have to do something stupid, ridiculous, and able to get that. AP got that in, what was it, 2012? When he got that, he was 9 yards short of breaking the record. So, I mean, that's the reason why I wouldn't have picked the better player on the Vikings, which would be Dalvin Cook. But that would lead me to my next one, which I guess I can go ahead and kick off.
Well, before you go there, I want to bring something up. So 17 games. Last year, there were 5 quarterbacks that threw for over 4,500 yards. We could see multiple quarterbacks this year throwing over 5,000 yards because of that extra game. So I think the stats for the MVP of the season are going to be bonkers. Like the guy that gets robbed is going to throw for 5,040 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
I really think that's what's going to happen with this extra game. Just wanted to throw that in there. But.
No, I don't disagree. That being said, though, those don't always matter. And the reason why I say that is Drew Brees has how many 5,000 yard seasons? Never won an MVP.
And Matt Stafford too, right? Stafford's got handful.
So, but I do agree with you. The stats are going to be ridiculous this year. We were talking about like what records could be broken this year. Chalk them up as 90% of them can be touched, and I'm including even the rushing record, and even in a passing game now, you still have Derrick Henry is the best shot at that with health. I do believe, unless you guys can think of somebody else. But outside of that, passing yards, passing touchdowns, they're all on the books. Receiving yards, sacks would be a little more difficult. I do understand that, but a high majority of these can be taken down.
Sure, but in a passing league now, you get more opportunities for sacks. What? Who is doing that? Is that me? No. Okay. Oh,
ESPN.
Yeah, ESPN
filthy.
Ads. Trying to get free
advertisement.
promotion.
Shout out ESPN.
Right.
Yeah. Here you go.
All right, Jimmer, go ahead and keep rolling us on then.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll with my offensive player of the year, which we just vaguely touched on, and that is Dalvin Cook. His all-purpose, everything, receiving, running, touchdowns. The touchdowns were there. The only thing that can take this away from him is another redonkulous year from Derrick Henry, which I don't know if it's going to be there just because he has so many miles on there. I mean, I don't want to predict that someone gets held out because of whatever.
All these end-of-year awards except for the one that matters the most, the Super Bowl trophy, huh?
Oh, we'll get there. Believe me. My dark horse for Offensive Player of the Year, I don't even know if it's that much of a dark horse. Like I actually had a flip-flop on this. I still went running back again, but Nick Chubb. I think that contract, that offense has done nothing but grow ever since Stefanski's went there. The more and more they get this down, the more and more the better and better they get. Nick Chubb had a pretty damn good year last year, and that's even with Kareem Hunt taking some of that stuff from him too. I think we looked at that. What was it, like 10 touchdowns or something that Kareem Hunt had? So I see him as my dark horse offensive player of the year. I have this is chalkboard right here. I'll tell you right now. Defensive Player of the Year, Aaron Donald. I don't know if there's a more dominant player. I mean, how do you get 10-plus sacks from the defensive tackle position? You get 2-3 guys on you, and you still can't be stopped. That is what lost him that playoff game last year, was Aaron Donald going to the sideline because he was banged up. That and Jared Goff. Or lack thereof. Dark Horse Defensive Player of the Year, I put it at Nick Bosa.
Okay.
Special player when he's out there also. Has one hell of a motor and just needs to be healthy, and I think that kind of comes together, and that will actually get Danny all excited right there, too, because he's a huge Niners fan, evidently.
Evidently.
Yeah, apparently.
On to you.
All right. Offensive Player of the Year for me, Josh Allen. I think he's going to light it up again. So, I'm going to say there, big arm, and they'll pass a lot there.
He's improved that
We
accuracy
talked,
tremendously.
right, another
from
year
his
to
first year.
year to grow. We talked about them passing a lot, Bills, and the percentages they pass on first down and such. So I think Offensive Player of the Year there. My dark horse, man, I had a couple here. I had two. I had Aaron Rodgers is what I'm rolling with because I think he goes out with a chip on his shoulder in Green Bay, has something to prove. Like, hey, guess what you're getting rid of? I'm going to carry this with me as I walk out the door. My other one kind of that I wanted to ride there was Baker Mayfield. Like I said, I'm big on the Browns. I think they take the leap this year, and I think they put it all together. So I like to see Baker come out firing, and what would really help them if Odell come back and gels with the team, and they keep him. Defensive Player of the Year, Chase Young. I'm going to go with Chase Young. That
I like it.
That D-line is studly, but I think ultimately this is the guy that you need to and have to block, commit multiple guys to block this guy. I don't know if that's going to stop him. So that's who I go with. My dark horse coming back from injury, Derwin James. Dude is a stud, man. If he stays on the field, he flips that defense around. How many close games are the Chargers in? I think this is the X factor right here, Derwin James. And I could see him sneaking in there if he puts up some production, interceptions and stuff like that. So,
yep.
Danny?
So where did you have Baker as a dark horse MVP or Offensive Player of the Year?
Offensive Player of the Year.
Okay. That one's interesting. Do you think there's such a run-based team, do you think he could potentially put up the stats to do that?
I think so. I think he could because they'll use their backs, as receiving and stuff like that. And I think he has all the weapons there. So obviously he's going to have to put up the numbers to do it. But I think if he leads them potentially into, a high spot in the playoffs, yeah, I see him being up there.
Obviously, OBJ would be key to that, right?
And that's going to be another, like I said, they've gelled without him, but that's going to be a big key.
But that next level.
Right, that is going to be a next level thing. And that's the thing. The Browns have always had the talent. They just never could put all the pieces didn't match, right? And it's never come together. We thought last year, the year before, it's happened. And it hasn't happened. I think this is a year, I hope, and I'm thinking that injury Odell has kind of matures him, sees the love for the game, maybe, and the opportunity he's got, and comes back, and then they light it up on offense together.
Okay, fair. So for me, going to Defensive Player of the Year, I guess Offensive Player of the Year to start, is Devante Adams. I think you mentioned Aaron Rodgers, he's going to have a special season. I think he's going to purposefully break records with Devante Adams. I think he has a huge year. Good shot for OPY. Then
you guys are both sickening me with all this Green Bay shit.
Green Bay, and coming from a Packers fan. I think you're right, but I think they're going to, at that point, you give the nod to the guy throwing the ball. But I do like the pick.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, Rodgers could break some records too on the offensive end, but it might be more special if it's Adams breaking the reception yard record, touchdowns, things like that.
Yep.
That's where I give him the nod. But Defensive Player of the Year, actually, nobody has a bad pick today. I think both you guys have had some solid picks there. Obviously, Aaron Donald, he could win Defensive Player of the Year every year. I'm actually going a different direction, though. I'm going Myles Garrett.
Oh.
For the Browns.
Okay.
I think their defense takes a big step up, and just like Aaron Donald,
especially with Clowney on the other side.
Exactly.
He's just like what you were saying, though. In my opinion, you were what you were just saying about Chase Young.
Mm-hmm.
Myles Garrett is special. There's a difference between Jadeveon Clowney, who's an athletic freak but has never really put everything together, and Myles Garrett, who has put it together and is a monster. Read a thing of one of the tight ends, was it Njoku in practice? He's like, I got picked up by this man. Picked up with his hands. I'm not talking about like he picked him up over his shoulders. Picked him up with his hands and found out real quick that I'm gonna have to go ahead and lift some more weights. This dude is a freak. So
he
I
will
love
also
it.
take your helmet off and hit you with it. So.
Yes, he will. So there is
that.
that. So watch your mouth when it comes to anything in general.
Yeah, definitely agree. Plus, watching the videos of him playing basketball, that man is an athletic freak on that end too.
Yeah,
like he's so big, he shouldn't be able to dunk the ball.
I love that pick, and I think it's only going to help him that Clowney's out there as well.
Yeah, that's a good call out. I think their defense takes such a big step up, and he's going to be the biggest part of it. I think he gets that credit. Potentially gets the nod for DPY.
Well, one of their weaknesses last year, we touched on it a little bit, so I'm not going to go too much, but they didn't have a safety, one of their weakest points. And then what did they go out and get? They went out and got one of the better safeties in the league. You didn't get the best
John
one because
Johnson.
he's in Minnesota. But yeah, John Johnson, is it Josh Johnson? The third?
Yeah.
I know it's the third. I know
From-
that.
Yeah, the third.
What defense did he just play on?
The
Rams.
The best defense in the league.
The best defense in the league
Mhm.
by statistically, yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll go ahead and move over. This could be an interesting conversation, maybe not. I haven't looked at what you guys have for picks, but for Rookie of the Year, this year it's going to be Justin Fields with the Bears. That's where I'm at with that. As long as they can protect him and he doesn't get his head knocked off like we already saw in the preseason, I think he wins Rookie of the Year. That's it.
It's a toss up for me.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is I don't mind the Justin Fields pick. I really don't. It's between him. I love Trevor Lawrence. I do. And I think he will be the better ultimate quarterback. Not with Jacksonville. He'll have to get out of there. As soon as this rookie contract's done, I'm telling you right now, Trevor, get out. You look you look real good in purple. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that.
Yikes.
But that being said, I think it'll be
Ravens.
I think it'll be two people give up on old. Yeah. No. So I think it's between him and Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance is in the way better offense, so he could succeed. I think he takes, like we were talking about, Trey Lance takes that job and he runs with it. There will be no looking back. And I think him being on a better team, a better offensive system, offensive guru.
Yeah, the scheme is going to, I think. And I'm right there, too. I think the scheme is going to help Lance, definitely. The run, and just how they do it. You have Kittle, a big target there.
I'm huge on, and they have a bunch of weapons there. I'm not saying that Fields doesn't. I like Fields a lot. I think he's also going to be a damn good quarterback. But for this year, because of the system that they're in, Trey Lance is set up for success.
Don't argue with that at all. But I think the odds that Justin Fields plays earlier and basically, I don't know, by week 3, 2, 3, whatever, I think he plays more of a season than Lance. I don't even know if Lance ends up getting the start unless they start to fall apart, right? We don't know that. That's my
I think he grabs it week 2,
concern.
right after his fingers healed. I think.
Sure. Sure. And so my thinking was one of the quarterbacks, either Fields or Lance, and it did come down to who played more games and who got the start faster. I do want to give the nod to the 49ers, and their scheme and just everything they do with their slightly better team, better defense, control, run it.
Slightly better team.
Okay, but much better. But, better across the board.
Yeah,
they can run the ball, support them very well. My other one, though, was Harris, not J. Harris.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
I'm not sold on that O-line. It's really bad. So if he can get any kind of lanes opened up with his O-line, I think he could potentially sneak in there as well. But one of these young quarterbacks is going to get a lot of playing time, and that's probably where it's going to go.
Yep.
Jimmer, you were, if I remember right, you were a lot higher on the Jets than Rio and I, right?
Yeah.
Where's your love for Zach Wilson over there?
I think he'll be fine, but I'm coming just purely back to system. I think this could be one of the, and it's been coming more and more often lately. I think this is going to be one of the better quarterback classes that we've seen. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't see any of them really failing, and maybe that's my optimism and all that stuff on that side. But I really don't see any of them really failing. I watched some of his plays, before we were starting, and I heard some fanboy stuff from some other radio, some radio commentator saying that he's the next Aaron Rodgers because of how he's. You know what? I watched some of those plays. I can see it. I'm not saying he's going to be that, but God, it looked good.
Hey,
And
man, that was
there
Tony
was some
Romo who
zip.
said that. He don't lie.
Yeah, I know. He is one of the best commentators in the game. Let's go and make that clear.
Shout out Tony Romo.
But no, I like Zach Wilson. I like them all. There isn't one I don't like out of this draft class. I don't think you could have went wrong really, except for Trevor Lawrence getting stuck with Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm just trying to think kind of out loud here. Is there anybody that we're not thinking about that could sneak in? That's why I brought up Zach Wilson. He's got the talent, right? And you, in your opinion, his receiving core is solid. So that's why I brought him up. Is there anybody else we're not thinking about? Najee's up there, right?
I got one.
Okay.
And this is way off the wall.
Here we go.
Patrick Surtain II, defensive back. He is what we've seen even in the I think the preseason just an outlier. They're playing a base defense, right? Every team is playing basically a base defense. They don't want to show anything. Mm-hmm. This dude was showing he's on a different level. He's on a different level mentality-wise. Like he came from it. His dad was a perennial all-pro, Pro Bowler himself.
Definitely hurt my heart that he didn't fall to the Cowboys.
Yeah, and I really, I can see this guy hitting. Let's go ahead and get a little ridiculous here. Let's go ahead. We have 17 games, right? I could see him hitting 8-9 interceptions, and that is a lot, and I understand that, but I really could. Everyone wants to test the rookie, right? And before they wisen up, or everyone thinks that, oh, he has this interception, he has this one, all of a sudden he's at 5. Yeah, but yeah, that was that quarterback, not me. It'll take this year, and then guess what? Next year he won't be thrown his way. I could see 9 interceptions this year, and I think 2 defensive touchdowns of some version for him.
Interesting. I like it. I like that going on the defensive end too.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, all right. Is there anything else we want to touch on? The NFL season, players, picks, anything like that before we move on?
Real quick, I wanted to. So it's a huge deal. As in, it tends to happen quite often, and that is a team going from last to first in their division. I also flirted with the first to last, which we kind of touched on anyways a few times. But so my pick for last to first in the division is the Denver Broncos. I think they have all the pieces. I wish. So I'm gonna stick with the Teddy doesn't win you games. Teddy just doesn't lose you games though. So if their defense plays up where I think they could, and they have and their run game, their offensive line got better last year, and they do have pretty damn good wide receivers. So even Teddy's 6-yard passes, those boys could take him to the house, especially Jerry Jeudy. So that's my best shot for last to first. My first to last was the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think we touched on that enough. I don't need to go any
that's
further
mine
on
too.
that one.
That's what I think. Aging quarterback, and
we can touch on
real bad
Super Bowl
line.
picks later at some point, another episode, but we didn't touch on that either.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay, so you went last to first. What about first to last?
First to last was Pittsburgh.
It was Pittsburgh?
Yep.
Who was last to first? Why did I
Last to first was
Denver
Denver.
was
Denver,
you said.
yep.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. Getting
So,
old over there, Danny.
I actually, apparently I spaced out there. So my worst to first is actually the Niners this year, since I'm so high on the Niners, apparently. I think they've got a good shot to do that. And I actually think there's 3 teams that have potential to go from first to last. The Saints, because the Saints were technically first, right?
Yeah, that's
I think the Saints
low-hanging.
dropped.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I wrote this up, I didn't think about the. Yep, I like that one.
No, that's definitely. I think the Steelers have potential. I just don't know if the Bengals will be good enough to overtake them for the season, but that's a good call.
Yep.
And I couldn't remember. I actually have to go back. Did the Seahawks win the division last year? I think they did by a hair, right? So I think the Seahawks are the other one. We could have a lot of drop off this year. Is my point.
Yep.
So I think there's going to be big changes, but you didn't have a chance to say much there, Rio. What do you think, man?
I agree. The Steelers, I feel they're going to drop off and come in last. I think that's the most potential.
Seahawks did win that division last year.
They did. Yeah, so they're definitely.
Oh,
I think we all agree.
I think
they
we
drop,
all agree
right?
they're falling
Yeah.
off. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, hold on. I gotta talk about my man Mikey O. Borney from work there. Was not happy with any of our predictions on the Seahawks.
Yeah.
I got body checked by a 50-plus-year-old man, and I found out real quick he is like a brick. He don't look like it, but it hurt. And he's like, "What is that? I hear about my Seahawks being at the bottom of the division." He's like, "I need to come in, educate you boys with some hawk talk."
Hawk talk.
Caw-caw!
All right.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse for them.
Only as they keep losing games.
Yeah, it's
losing games. They keep losing games. But
Yep.
So yeah, I think the Steelers, they are gonna be bad this year. I feel like a lot of drop off there. Big Ben not gonna be Big Ben anymore. Running a rookie behind a really bad O line. I can see them slipping down. My staying in the division, worst to first, Bengals. Man, if they can, that O line can come together and play. They got a couple of nice high draft picks there. A great quarterback. I see Joe Mixon having a great year, coming back, and then also an improved defense.
Yep.
So I can see them possibly sneaking in there.
Yeah. No, I don't. I think it's a tough division to do it to,
It is definitely.
But the more we look this over, it is not an easy one to pick last to first.
Right.
Like, I mean,
the
if you
Browns
look-
can
if
be
you
the
look at
Browns.
this-
See, and that's my thing. The Browns can
Yep.
be the Browns. Lamar Jackson,
Yeah.
Maybe they
No,
keep
so
games
no-
too close, and
So nobody wants to go Jacksonville.
Nobody wants to go.
Nobody
Jacksonville.
wants to go Jacksonville.
No.
Okay. No Detroit Lions up in here. Okay.
No way, they get worse. All right.
Hold on, Rio. Before we move,
Jesus.
I gotta ask you this. So you're a big fan of the Dwayne Haskins pickup. I think
Oh,
we
man.
all think
Yeah.
that was a good pickup. right?
I love it. No risk, right?
So when we talked during the last episode about the AFC, we also said there's a shot that if something happens with Ben, Dwayne would actually get bumped up to the starter, not Mason Rudolph,
Correct.
right? So
Might have been the helmet to the head.
let's say something happens early in the season, whether it's Ben is just playing like dog shit,
Mhm.
maybe he gets hurt, whatever the case. So we're only 2-3 games in, right? Something happens, Haskins jumps in, is a QB. Does that change? Is he good enough for them that changes how bad you think the Steelers are going to be for the season?
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna still go with no for the year. I think they're gonna have plenty of upside there. Like I said,
There's still growth.
Yeah,
to be had.
exactly. He's still a
Yep.
young quarterback with, so no, not much. I still see them coming either third or fourth, either way. But you've got a lot of potential then. Now the thing is though, if he balls out, because I think he's only on a 1-year deal. If he happens to ball out, what are you paying him the next year?
I think Big Ben's done, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he's just got one.
Yeah. So I mean, he would have to do something absolutely ridiculous to get a huge ass contract, but
Yeah.
he'll get something in the range of, let's say he does pretty damn good, shows the potential that made him a first round pick. 20 mil, which still is dirt cheap in the NFL right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
I mean, for a quarterback.
Absolutely.
So
All right. So that wraps up the NFL portion of the podcast here. And what I didn't tell everyone at the beginning of this is we're actually going to talk some college sports right now. We've been asked for it on the different social media platforms, things like that. So we're going to go ahead. College football has officially kicked off, so we're a little bit late to the dance, but we're going to give our picks for the season when it comes to standings, some different surprises we expect throughout the year, even some Heisman picks. And let's go ahead and reverse the table this time. Rio, go ahead and kick us off with some picks here, man.
All right. Hey, I'm going to start in the American Athletic Conference, the AAC. Number 1 I have coming in, Cincinnati Bearcats. They return their star QB, Desmond Ridder. Offense, averaging, 37.5 points per game. But I think the standout here, great quarterback. Standout here, the defense was amazing. 16.8 points per game allowed. That is amazing. And they return guys. And I think we see more from that, and they come in 1. My 2 there is UCF. Returning quarterback that threw for over 3,500 yards. 32 touchdowns, just 4 picks. All starters return on the O-line, but kind of reverse order here. I think the defense holds these guys back. They allowed 500 yards a game, 500 yards a game and 33 points per game. So I think this holds them back, and they can't match up with some of these high-scoring teams. So that's my 1 and 2 there.
Yeah. So I don't disagree. I think UCF could actually win the conference this year. I don't know if you call them a dark horse or not, but I think Houston can score some points. I think Houston could be one of those that surprises people this year. They did lose, I think, to Oklahoma the other day, right? But it wasn't a blowout. It wasn't too bad of a game. So I think they could definitely come up and do some things as well.
Okay.
So when I did this, I guess since we're doing the AAC isn't. I have the only difference I have Cincinnati winning that division.
Mm-hmm.
I think, or winning that conference. I guess we'll touch on that a little bit later. But Cincinnati, the one thing that I need to build off of for you is, and I could get the two mixed up. They're one of the very few teams in the nation where their offense and defense, total points per game and total points allowed per game, were inside the top 20. One of them, I do believe it was their defense. I'd have to pop it up. They were inside. One of them was inside the top 10. The other one was 17.
Oh, yeah, 16.8. You're going to be one of the top defenses in the country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I think, and they return a bunch of their starters.
Yeah.
So on the offense and defense side. And then the only difference I have is I have Houston coming in on second in that one.
Okay.
Brought in a few I do believe they brought in a few 4-star recruits, and I do believe, are they returning their quarterback, the one that sat out? I think they're bringing back the quarterback.
Can't be sure. I didn't do the recap on all teams. I just the two that I think had the chance to go 1 and 2. That's all I did there. All right, there we go. So we got a couple picks for Houston to finish up top in the division there. All right, so we'll slide on down to the ACC. Clemson Tigers, I think they roll here, continue. Their star quarterback, DJ, did well when he replaced Trevor Lawrence when he was out. So I think they continue to roll. Their stud wide receiver, Justin Ross, 112 receptions, over 1,800 yards, 17 touchdowns in 2 seasons. That's going to be a big target for him. And their defense, they return 9 starters on defense, so that's going to be huge for them as well. I think they continue to do Clemson things and take the ACC. Number 2, Tar Heels. Man, I like Sam Howell. Over 7,000 passing yards, 68 touchdowns, 14 picks in 2 seasons.
Better than Mitchell Trubisky?
Much better. 5th in the nation as total offense, 9th in scoring offense. So I think potential there to match up with Clemson is there. However, defense is going to hold them back a little bit. They return a secondary. Nobody had more than 1 interception. They allowed 400 yards per game and 29 points per game. So that potentially will hurt them. They got some bumps in the road in their schedule that hopefully that doesn't allow them to lose 1 or 2.
Who's their head coach?
Mr. Mac Brown.
There you
Mac
go.
Brown.
Mac Brown.
Miss you.
Yeah.
Miss you.
R.I.P. Yeah.
Man. All right. So ACC side. So Clemson, I think they roll. And their end, I think they'll be fine. The first game of the season is going to be tough. I think they might end up losing right off the bat to Georgia. But regardless, I think they win their end of the ACC. On the other side, North Carolina. I don't know if you guys have paid much attention to Sam Howell, but he's a stud, the quarterback for North Carolina.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. I think he actually ends up with Offensive Player of the Year there and could make a trip for a potential Heisman Trophy as well.
Ooh.
I think he has a great year.
I think so, too. I think he is in my Heisman race as well.
Yeah. Just one note about the ACC here. So Miami plays Bama at a neutral location here, right away to start the season. And I actually found this on ESPN, so shout out to ESPN here. But Bama has not only beaten ACC teams in neutral sites since 2013, but they basically destroyed them for the year. So they've had 4 openers against ACC teams at neutral sites. Average margin of victory 29.5. The one outlier was Florida State kept it close at 24-7. So not 29 points there.
Was that Jameis Winston time?
So
Did
that
you see the year?
was. Nope, I'm not real sure on the year of that,
Okay.
but that was at least since 2013.
Yep.
But with that said, those teams have lost at least 5 games this season in which Bama just crushed them. So we've got, I mean, everybody's got Miami as a top 25 team, right around ranked 13, right? At the end of the year, they might not even be in the top 25 simply because of the Crimson Tide. So just one thing to look out for is how they do in that first game. But other than that, yeah, Clemson and then UNC on the other side. Jimmer.
Yeah, so my picks were, I think the obvious one here for ACC is I took a pick. I took 1 and 2, but I did it per division in this one. That's what I did on mine. So in the ACC, I had Clemson, and I think there isn't much that needs to be said. That DJ Agulile showed that he is a stud. Like they're not going to miss much of a beat there. They'll probably lose a game somewhere, but I still think it'll be against a good team. In that same division as the 2, I have Boston College. I had just have them coming like kind of flying up the chart there. I mean, if I had to throw a number at it, I would say at least 8 wins in that division. On the second half, the second part of that division, I have Miami and UNC. Miami, I do like the stat that you brought up. I do. That was pretty interesting with Alabama rolling up ACC opponents and what it does to the rest of their season. But I think if Miami just hangs around in this game, well, hell, if they upset them, we're in a whole different conversation, right? But if they just hang in this game, this team is talented. They're returning their quarterback, De'Aaron King. And I think the sky's the limit for him. I think and then UNC we've already touched on Sam Howell.
Another stud.
One hell of a quarterback. This was a tougher division. This was a tougher conference for me to pick. I think Clemson wins. Don't get me wrong. I do believe that, but it's a hell of a lot more competitive than what it has been in the past. You know, it's usually Clemson, Florida State, depending on if they have like Jameis and Jimbo Fisher, and then everybody else. You know, maybe someone ekes out 8 wins or something like that, and it's not even an impressive 8 wins. But I think it's a lot closer. I think all of them are starting to come back around and boost it up.
Yeah, I think the tough thing for Miami is playing Bama that early in the season. Yeah. I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I think in college football, for most teams, it takes them a few games to get their wheels kind of turning,
right?
Especially when you're playing decent teams, right? Bama, though, they come ready.
Just think about that. We were talking a little bit ago about usually the first game, a lot of times, unless you're bigger programs, I guess, but a lot of times the first game is a tune-up game. How about this? I'm going to give you something. Whenever Alabama plays anybody, it's a tune-up game, especially last year. I mean, yes, we don't know about Bryce Young yet or like what he's going to bring. Obviously, some of these nil supporters giving him 6 digits obviously think big things of him. But
they should see me throw the ball. Maybe they'll give me a couple more. Right. At least a couple, like 100,000. Come on,
man. How about if you show that half foot? I bet you get that for all those foot fetish people.
Yeah, they might pay me to go away forever.
Right.
Whatever you do not take a shoe off for the rest of your life.
For the love of God. Yeah. So.
All right, we'll keep on chugging here to the Big 12. This one hurts my heart because I don't even have my Horns in the top 2.
What?
I just don't.
What?
I'll touch on them real quick. You know, I think Texas finishes 3rd. The new head coach, I'm just not sure this is the year. I think next year is when we'll shine through, and he'll get some of his guys he's bringing in, guys that want to play for him. Have to figure out our quarterback situation right now. It's Hudson Card. I don't know, like those guys are on the field in practice and such. So I thought Casey Thompson did well in the bowl game. Should get first crack. Going to be interesting how that goes. Offensively, I think we're going to be fine. Average 475 yards per game, 43 points per game, and we return 8 starters on offense. Bijan Robinson, my Heisman pick. I think he's going to be a stud. I think he's going to get the ball a lot, as he should. So I think
Why
he's
is
going to
that?
be a stud.
Why wasn't he a stud last year, Chris?
Tom Herman did not. I don't. He just did not do.
What's your statement though? You have a statement that goes with Tom Herman. What was that again? I thought you had like a saying.
I don't know what it was, but I think he's, he tried to be, not fair isn't the word, but almost like favorites. Like I'm gonna please everybody here.
I was gonna say he was just being too affectionate with his players.
Oh yeah, whatever, that too. But I think he's just trying to keep too many people happy. Oh, you've been loyal to us, so I'm gonna give you the rock. No. If I bring a 5-star running back in here, what are you gonna do? If this dude can handle the ball 20 times a game,
especially when he shows it in the game,
right? He's gonna get the ball 20 times a game.
You bring in 5-star athletes,
right?
Sometimes they don't pan out, but when he actually got his crack,
yeah.
I think we looked at his stats.
8 yards per carry, averaging 8 yards per carry. It's you give this dude the ball, and I think,
man, I'm gonna run for 20 yards, but then I'm gonna go
Steve
and put this other
Sarkisian
dude
does
in.
that, man. I think he lets him ball out. Defense, we're bad. I mean, we can take a step up. Obviously, we return starters and such, but I think that's what holds back. Ultimately,
playing the Big 12,
right? So I think next year, as we turn it around, we can challenge a spot and potentially a playoff spot.
Yep.
So, but this year, going on 1, Oklahoma. I think they have one bump in the road, and that would be Iowa State, who comes in at number 2 for me. But for Oklahoma, Spencer Rattler returns, future NFL draft pick. He's got over 3,000 passing yards and 28 touchdowns, only 7 picks last year. Offense was great, almost 500 yards a game, 43 points per game. They did get an Arkansas transfer, a wide receiver. I don't have his name, but he had 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns the last 2 years for them. So that's going to help the return on some of those receivers. They did get a transfer running back from Tennessee, and Eric Gray ran for 1,300 yards last year. Also, they have a 1,000-yard rusher from 2019, I believe. He set out last year, Kennedy Brooks. So you're going to be great in the running back room. And I don't think we realized how good their defense actually was. Held 5 teams to 14 points or lower. So, and for the Big 12, that's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be number 1. I do think they get some competition from Iowa State. I think they're going to be good this year. They averaged 436 yards per game last year, 33 points per game. Return in Brock Purdy, 3-year starter, almost got 9,000 passing yards in his career there.
The Beast. Pretty solid, baby.
Yeah, I think wide receiver, question mark here. Nobody really stands out. But they do have
Are they all like 6'6" though?
Yeah, they're all just massive.
They just get 6 foot, 6'6" guys, and we'll just go ahead and lob it up.
Right.
That's their shortest person's like 6'1".
Right. A couple of good tight ends, Charlie Collard, Chase Allen. So there's some guys to throw to, but who steps up in that wide receiver room? But of course, the guy we talked about, Breece Hall, their stud running back, 1,500 yards, 21 touchdowns, amazing. So they should ride him to up there to that championship. Defense allowed 240 yards per game, 21 points per game. I think they're better on defense, and maybe that shows. But
weren't they kind of the cream of the crop of defense in the Big 12?
Big 12, yep. Like I said,
You know?
Oklahoma's kind of sneaky good. I didn't realize they held 5 teams of 14, but
I think,
Iowa State's usually been solid on defense.
I think they had a cat last name McDonald that had double-digit sacks last year too, so they know how to get after it. They
Right.
usually produce linebackers too. So
So return 12 of their top 15 tacklers from last year. So I think defensively they're okay here. It'll be a question mark on if they have enough offense to overtake Oklahoma at the top for me.
Yeah, we're similar right there, Rio. You named a lot of players. I think Texas does have a pretty good season. How many wins do you have Texas at? Like 8, 9 in that range? You got them at 3rd, but
I'll have to look again. I was just looking at who we were playing.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
I just see.
I'm curious.
I just see us finishing 3rd. I think probably 4 losses. I think I was counting up somewhere right there. So I think we finish 3rd there. I think we beat TCU. I just don't think we have it together on defense yet. I think offensive will be just fine. as we have. Obviously, we were putting up almost 500 yards per game, so and an offensive-minded coach, but
yeah. So we're the same there. I've got Oklahoma, ISU, and Texas. Texas obviously has a phenomenal running back who really could do some things this year. But so Jimmer, you mentioned Iowa State produces some linebackers. Mr. Mike Rose is a stud. So he actually led the Big 12 in tackles last year, 96, right? I think so he'll be a senior this year. He takes a step up. I think he goes over 100 tackles, still All-American status and everything. He's really going to help. Like you said, they're bringing back so many pieces that Iowa State is going to be really good. They could battle Oklahoma.
There was a lot of commitment to come back when they could have, when some of these boys could have entered the draft and at least been drafted. There's plenty of talent there, and they decided to come back. They're like, we have something here that could be special.
Yep.
That was a huge deal winning the Fiesta Bowl. It's a huge deal.
Huge deal.
And they're like, you know what? We're not done. And that's what their coach brings. If they do anything special, like even more special than what they did last year, I'm sorry to tell any Iowa State fan that cat isn't going to stay there. That coach isn't going to, and he'll be too hot of a commodity.
You think he goes NFL or somewhere else? Bigger program.
I think a bigger program, but it would have to be one of his dream jobs, I think. But because he did get offered what I think he was part of the conversation of the Jacksonville job.
I think so, yeah.
And as soon as you start talking, double-digit millions, we're talking a different ball game.
Life-changing, right?
Yeah. And that's the type of money that will be thrown towards this guy, especially if they build off of what they did last year. That was an awesome game to watch. I'm not an Iowa State guy, but that was an awesome game to watch. And those jerseys were tits.
Yeah, you mentioned Rio. You mentioned Oklahoma's defense, I think, right? I actually like Iowa State's defense over Oklahoma's. I just don't know if they can keep up with the Sooners. They're just built to create Heisman quarterbacks, and so I think what is it, Rittler? Is that his name? Oklahoma quarterback.
Spencer Rattler.
Rattler. Sorry. I think he's going to put up some numbers naturally just because of where he plays and how they play. He'll be in the Heisman conversation, so they're going to be good. Either one of these teams, to be honest with you, could end up in that Final Four spot.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of them does. One of them will be.
If they do, this is my prediction. If they do, I think Iowa State would have a better chance to win one of those games. I don't think they could win both, but win one of those games, I think, than Oklahoma does because of that defensive factor. But other than that, yeah, there's my picks right there for the Big 12. Over to you, Jimmer.
So we're not far off in anything we just said. I have Oklahoma, number 1, but it's very close. And the second team was Iowa State. That is, I'm not going to be shocked. In fact, I'm actually getting a little excited just thinking about it because Iowa State actually does have a shot. They do. And if they play the way that we know they can play, that they've shown they can play, and they play up to the teams like the blue bloods of like Oklahoma, Texas, they tend to play a little hard too. We can see them do something special, and there's nothing. If they're able to beat Iowa the second week, big rivalry game, I will be an Iowa State fan. 'Cause it'd be nothing cooler than to see a natty championship come to the state of Iowa.
Because it's not coming from Iowa Hawkeyes.
Well, we'll get to that, son. Let's calm down there. But to build off the stats that you guys are bringing up, you brought up Mike Rose and his tackles. Did you know this man had 5 interceptions, dude?
Yeah.
As a linebacker, dude. Just, I don't know. I think this team is a team. Like, it is a culture.
Shout out Troy Davis.
Yeah, we are. We are. They are the 3-star program that just turns them up. That's kind of. I mean, they've been the little brother of Iowa.
Woof.
Iowa does do that. I mean, they have been up to here, and they're right now.
Go ahead, Iowa State fans. You listening to that?
Yeah.
You go ahead and tune in and let Jimmer know.
Just to be clear, Jimmer and I are big Hawkeye fans, but there's no hate to Iowa State. If they are good, we'll cheer
as
them
long
on.
as they're not playing Iowa.
That's
right,
100% accurate.
That's 100% right there. Brees Hall is just ridiculous. I mean, you stack up against him even when you play like a Oklahoma or something like that. It's like that. And I'm not saying Brock Purdy's bad because he's good. But, I mean, he's better than most quarterbacks that have came there. They have, like, quarterbacks that will come in, kind of step in for a game or two, just do something miraculous, and then everyone just jumps on the bandwagon, and then they fall. This guy doesn't. He just keeps producing. But Brees Hall is the reason why that happens. David Montgomery, before that, was also that type of guy. So I want to see Brock Purdy take that next one, take that next step, and that'll be the difference. We know what the defense can do. We know what Brees Hall can do. Let's see what Brock Purdy can do. We need you to win a game now. We need you to lead us down the field and get this victory. We need you to be the quarterback that we hope you are.
Right, and that's where I think they're going to have to find somebody in the wide receiver group is going to have to step up and stand out for him.
Yep.
Like I said, I think he's got tight ends to throw to, but you need a wide receiver to come through for you. All right, so we'll keep on rolling. Down to the Big Ten, number 1 here. And after watching the game last night, I don't know, but I'm going to roll with my picks here. Ohio State, last night, fluke, getting the wheels turning. You're still buttoning up your team there. Number 1, Ohio State. Last year, offense averaged 500 yards a game, 41 points per game. Obviously, we're talking about a new quarterback. I think he did just fine last night. 4 touchdowns, I believe. I don't know what the yardage was. I'm taking upside on all the talent they always bring in and reload.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about loaded wide receiver group. Chris, I may slaughter some names during all this, but Olave, not sure how to say that. 50 catches, 700 yards, 7 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson, 43 catches, over 700 yards, 6 touchdowns. So you've got a lot of big play potential on that offense. Can your quarterbacks that you're bringing in put it all together? So I think they do. I think they do just fine. I see them coming out at 1. Another one, I think the defense could potentially hold these guys back. Allowed a Big Ten worst 304 yards per game, and they only returned their 5 starters on defense. So that's going to be something to watch. Can their defense hold it down for them? Number 2 kind of went out here. Iowa. I got Iowa coming in number 2. I think Wisconsin doesn't have their everything together. I think Iowa could slip past them. They're really efficient. Number 1 in the Big Ten in the red zone last year. Quarterback play does have to get better. Spencer Petras was only a 57% passer. So room for improvement. He's going to have to stand up. Who's your guy, Jimmer, that you said could come in?
My man, Tyler Goodson.
No.
Oh,
quarterback.
Quarterback? Oh, you put me on the spot like that. He is from
Texas,
town
right?
by the name of Tyler, Texas. And the name escapes me right now.
Yeah, he can't remember. But they do have a promising young quarterback, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think Tyler Goodson, I think you're right. He will break out. He had over 700 yards, 7 scores last year. That was on limited games. So I think he does well. No Heisman trophy for him, but I think he does very well. Steps up, is going to be your stud, and you're going to lean on him. Defense, doing what they do. Pretty tough normally. 8th in the nation last year. Returns 8 of their top 11 tacklers. So I think what comes down to, can the offense consistently move the ball? And I think it starts with that quarterback.
All right.
One thing. Deuce Hogan, Iowa quarterback that could potentially come in and
absolutely. I've watched plenty of his tape, especially when he was down there. I watched some of his high school tape because I was excited. He was recruiting for Iowa as soon as he committed, and he had offers from Georgia and some of the bigger universities also, and he picked Iowa, and then he was out there helping recruit right out of the gate, and he has arm talent, and Kirk Ferentz is
still going to run the ball on 3rd and 10.
Oh, yeah. So Kirk Ferentz is old school. The guy that has played for him, kind of like we were talking about with Herman, except for we win. It's a weird conference. It's a weird thing. We stick with him.
Yeah, we play not to lose though, so there's that. You know that as a Hawkeye fan. It's good to see we've got some Hawk love today. I've got Ohio State on their side. I've got the Hawks. I don't need to dwell too much into that. I think the Hawkeyes I actually have winning 10 games this year. I think they're going to have a good season. Wisconsin is a little bit worrisome. They do have some tougher games here and there, and I don't know. I don't know if I know there's a lot of hype around the quarterback, and they say if he plays well and does, especially on road games, if he plays better, they'll be good. But I want to see it first. So I think the Hawks win on their end this year. Some bold predictions I'm going to throw out there right now. First one, Mr. Harbaugh loses his job after this season because Michigan only wins 6 games.
Yeah, I was looking at their schedule, and I'm actually, to me, it sounded.
Didn't they just extend him? Did it?
They did, but I bet you.
You still think they axe it?
He may actually just be prideful enough to just walk away. So, but yeah.
Yeah,
well,
they've
it'd be
gotta
better
beat
man
Ohio
to me
State.
because with those millions of dollars staring at me, I wouldn't.
No.
How much are you going to pay me? Yeah, I could win 4 games. I don't care.
Right. I don't care. Wow.
Well,
Get out of here.
I think Michigan can deal with not necessarily being championship contenders, but after this season, Ohio State's going to beat Michigan 9 straight years.
Right.
They can't do that.
And that's their that's Michigan's biggest bugaboo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a huge deal. I mean, he's had some successful seasons with them, bowl game-ish, but
Not by Michigan standards, right?
but not ish, except for what he's missing. I have to go back and look at what season it was, but it is still losing to Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, you could have 9 wins. First off, that would have been 10, which would have been real good, but you lost to Ohio State. That's a no-no. That's a no-no that many years in a row, and that's a big deal.
Yeah,
That
agreed.
rivalry.
And I guess the more I think about this might not be so much of a bold prediction. I think the Nebraska coach also gets let go.
Yeah.
I think Frost has just not done it. And one
Yeah.
thing I didn't realize, Nebraska has been bad, and we love to beat on him because fuck Nebraska,
Yeah.
to be flat out.
And their
But
corn sucks.
The
And
corn
the
is
corn
terrible.
sucks.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But Nebraska hasn't won more than 2 games in a row in over 4 years.
Wow.
That's nuts. We knew they were bad, but
Yeah.
that is insane to me. But
That's crazy.
other than that, Ohio State and then the Hawks. Ohio State probably makes it to the dance at the end of the year again. I don't think there's much in their way. They're only going to get better from the other night, right?
Mhm.
So they've got a lot of talent there. But
Yeah.
that's where I'm at for the Big Ten.
Yep. So just like I told you earlier, I broke down. I went 2 teams per division in the conference. So I had OSU. I don't think there's much to say that you guys already haven't. That Stroud is just going to get better and better. I mean, he showed some resilience last night. I mean, I do believe, I don't know what you want to call it because they made COVID rules and all that. But in my mind, it's a redshirt freshman, right? So he didn't take a snap last year. He showed improvement just last night when the stuff. And yes, you have all the talent in the world around you, but you still have to make the throws. You still have to lead the charge. At the end of the day. So it's their conference to lose. Penn State I have actually coming in second in that division, and they lost a lot of players last year due to COVID or sit outs, some bang ups. I think they rebound nicely actually. I have, and this hurts me to say, but I have Wisconsin leading their division, beating out Iowa just barely. They play our same style, just a little bit bigger. And so was it last year, 2 years ago? We didn't have an offensive lineman that was over 300 pounds. I'm not saying that's make or break, okay? That isn't what I'm saying. But Wisconsin didn't have one of their offensive linemen that was under 300 pounds. So they do what we do, except for they get the bigger
Better?
ones. Better is a strong word. They still, but I have Iowa coming in second in that one, just barely. I still see them getting at least 8-9 wins. I think Wisconsin gets just that edge, just like one more win, whether it's 9 or 10, either way.
So you
Graham,
see,
I see Graham Mertz making the jump. A 5-star quarterback. You're a 5-star for a reason. They start you as a true freshman for a reason. So he took his lumps last year. I'm gonna venture a guess, if I had to bet money, that he's gonna improve a hell of a lot. Not even a little bit, a hell of a lot, you know. And they always have, in Wisconsin, they always have a run game too, to go ahead and ease the pain or ease the job of the quarterback. Iowa, since it's my team, I gotta touch on, a few things. Petrus was horrible in the first few games. He could not hit the broadside of the barn. I was like, my Lord. And I'm sitting there waiting for my guy, my boy Deucey Hogan.
He would only be your boy if you could remember his name.
Yeah, I know. You caught me off guard. I'm sitting there looking up something to say, and you're sitting there telling me, like throwing a quiz question over at me. Jesus.
It's okay. You're just stupid.
Yeah, definitely got some of that going on. So Tyler Goodson is a special back.
Easy. I don't know about special.
No, he's special.
I just think he's going to be the guy and be
No. We've had the guy and blah blah blah. This is a different level of running back than what that the Hawkeyes are normally getting. Sean Green was probably one of our better ones of recent memory, and this dude is better than Sean Green.
We talked about using the word special.
He is special.
No.
He will be. Yeah, I promise you, he'll be just.
He
fine.
may be better than some of the other backs you got, but he is not special.
He's special. Just watch. Spencer Petras will make the jump. So when I said his first 2 games, and I don't mean jump like he's gonna be like extraordinary, but his first 2 games were horrible. We went 0-2, and he was, I think in one of them he was sub 50% completion percentage. It looked
57% passer, I believe is what it was.
Yeah, overall.
overall,
but the first 2 games were that bad.
Really bad?
Yes. So after he started clicking though, I had his stats up. When he started going, his last few games, we went 6-0 after that, and that wasn't just by running the rock and some defense. We were beating teams by the only team that was outscoring their opponent more than us from that point forward, from week 3 on, was Alabama. We were beating people by 21 points a game. That isn't just from running the rock. It isn't, it wasn't just the defense doing their stuff. Spencer Petras made a little bit of a jump. A little bit. He had never started a game in college before this last season, a COVID season where he didn't get an off season or spring practices, right? And he started growing right there. I'm not trying to fully back him. Like I said, I'm a huge Deuce Hogan guy, and I hope he gets his opportunity. I hope he doesn't take the old portal rule and jump ship here, but that defense is we have like one. The secondary is one of the most experienced ones in the nation, especially in the conference. And we're finally touching guys that we rarely get 4 or 5-star guys there. That aren't linemen, straight linemen. We have some of those that are coming in there. Justin Jacobs was a 4-star who will be touching the field as an outside linebacker. I think will help relieve some of the pass rush that we'll be missing. But we return our leading sacker and Valkenberg. It's gonna be tight. So that's gonna be close. To me, it's gonna be close. And that's who I got for the Big Ten.
So you've got a lot of love for the Hawks. The difference between them and Wisconsin is the 5-star quarterback, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I get it. We're just on different ends of the pendulum there. I want to see more from him, is my thing. I totally could see where you're going with that, though.
Yep.
All right. We're going to keep it on rolling to Conference USA. Danny's slacking a little bit over here. I have UAB coming in 400 yards per game, 28 points per game. So offense is there. Their rushing attack averaged 200 yards per game. That is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yep.
So what helps that?
From a program that wasn't even that they shut down for a couple years and then brought back.
Yeah, impressive. I mean, and to help that, they return all starters on O-line. So the rushing attack should still be one of the best. Also, on the flip side, the defense, 7th in the nation, gave up just over 300 yards per game and 21 points per game returns. So this, I think, is what helps them stand out and claim number 1. They returned 4 of the 5 starting defensive backs from last year. So that secondary is going to be solid. You're going to have your same group of core guys in there. So a lot of experience for coming back for them. Number 2, Western Kentucky. They averaged 290 yards per game, 19 points per game. So not crazy good. But, and here's why I think this offense turns around. They can push for that 2 spot is because of Houston Baptist quarterback transfer. I don't have his name up. Over 10,000 career passing yards. And they return last year's top 2 receivers. So I think it makes a big jump. That guy sounds like he's going to definitely be throwing the ball, winging it, not scared of that. Defense was just okay, allowed 25 points per game. So I'm picking them as my number 2 here.
All right. There's not much else to get into here. UAB, I think, takes the West. I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm just looking at last year's standings on the East side, and Marshall was solid. Overall, the East, the West wasn't great either, I suppose. But I think Marshall still looks pretty good to go ahead and take the East. But, I don't know. I could see a few different teams who pop up and take over the East. I just don't think they're amazing. I don't like that side of the conference at all. So
Yep.
That's it for me.
So I have the exact same as yours. Conference USA, I had UAB, and Marshall had, I think, 2 losses last year. One of them was to UAB, and it was like 22-13. So I think there's they're gonna have the same success this year. I have my number 2 team as Marshall, building off that same exact thing as I just said right there. They had 2 losses. One of them was to UAB, and that, like I said, 22-13. Marshall's other loss was against Buffalo, who was also pretty damn good too. So that was my flip-flop. Like, that one was kind of difficult for me to choose because Buffalo was pretty damn good too. So I could see Buffalo slipping into that 2 spot over Marshall, but I still think this is UAB's to go ahead and go with.
Okay. So consensus on UAB here. All right, keep rolling down to the MAC. I have Toledo coming in here. They only played 6 games last year, but in that 6 games, they were 13th in the nation, averaging just short of 500 yards per game and 35 points per game. So that's 13th on offense. Returns 10 starters on offense. So I think, that returns their offensive game, and they roll here, claim the number 1 spot. My big one, return all defensive starters. That's going to be key here, and I think to help them get the number 1 spot. Number 2, Miami, Ohio, returns 19 starters. So that's a lot of key guys coming back. They did only play in 3 games last year, so that is something. They almost missed the entire season, but with 19 starters returning and gelling with each other, I think the potential is there. They don't have the same stats that Toledo put up, so I think I'm going to give Toledo the nod at 1, Miami, Ohio 2.
All right, interesting. I'm not seeing a big difference, Rio. I think Buffalo should be pretty good, and in the West, it's just so hard for teams that I really just don't give a shit about.
There's that.
Just to be blunt here. Ball State ended up winning 7 straight to end the season last year. I think they probably take it away. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's an upset. But I guess Buffalo and Ball State is where I'm at here, guys.
Good. So the one I had there was I had Toledo and Buffalo.
Okay.
Buffalo, as we were just alluding to, was 5-0 in conference. And when I mean they were 5-0, like, they worked over their opponents, like 250 points for 259 to only 105 given up. I do believe this is where our boy Cleo Mack also went to college at too. So they produce some monsters. They finished off 6-1, and they finished off 25th overall in the rankings. I have them. So I have Toledo. I'm gonna be honest with you. I picked them because a guy of mine is huge on them, and that's Mr. Tyler Kanicki.
Dude, I'm a guy and I'm high on that. What the hell?
I'm gonna go ahead and leave it exactly what I just said. Yeah, my guy Tyler.
What the
let me know
hell?
he's big on
All
old
right.
the
Can we
Toledo
unplug his mic
Rockets.
today?
Yeah, unplug it. For not much other reason, honestly. I usually the when it comes to the West, like the one thing I want to say, Northern Illinois is like always usually up there, and I don't know if it's a COVID thing. It isn't like I'm sitting there watching all these games, but I don't know if it's like a COVID thing last year. 0-6. They usually are like they're usually like the consistent 8-win team. They always play like the Hawkeyes are in there, and then they play someone else. But then they kind of win their division, or they win their conference. And I can't give you any back support on to why, but I'm used to just seeing them at near the top there. So
Right.
so I'm holding out hope for my Northern Illinois Huskies.
Shout out Northern Illinois. Okay. Keeping on chugging down to the Mountain West.
Mm-hmm. The sixth Power 5. The poor man's Power 5. Power 6.
Yeah, that's probably more realistic there. The poor man's Power 5. I have Nevada coming in here. One, offense average almost 450 yards per game and 31 points per game. Returns all the starters on offense, so I think they continue to roll. Do great things out there. Quarterback was a stud. Carson Strong, 27 touchdowns, only 4 picks last year. Return their wide receiver, Romeo Dubes, finished with over 1,000 yards, averaged over 17 yards a catch. The big thing here, too, 10 starters back on defense, so that'll obviously help them and gel. And that's another thing. I think for me, especially in a COVID season, which was really weird, getting all your players back, that definitely helps. And I think, the teams that I've seen with a lot of guys coming back and returning, that definitely, I took that into factor. Number 2, Boise State. They do got kind of a tough game schedule, and I see they lost last night. I still have them coming in at number 2. Offense average 350 yards per game and 34 points per game. They have to run the ball better, finish last in rushing yards in the Mountain West. But they do return a 1,000-yard rusher from 2019. He got hurt last year, George Halani. So that'll be big if he can return to form after that injury. So I think they do take a step up there, probably not last this year. They return 9 starters on a defense that gave up 373 yards per game and 27 points per game. So definitely can get better there. That group only come up with 3 interceptions last year, so need to get some more takeaways and give that offense the ball. I do have them coming in second still, despite the loss last night.
Fair enough. Yeah. So on the Boise State side, I'm with you. I think that UCF loss could end up being their only loss of the season. I think we agreed earlier. I think UCF's going to be a pretty solid team. Wasn't a bunk loss there. That was fine. I think they'll come take over that side of the conference. On the other end, I'm just kind of debating Nevada. They look pretty good, but last year San Jose State. What San Jose State lose 1 game last year? So I'm leaning towards. I think they carry the momentum into this year. Last year was a weird year with COVID and everything like that, but I do think San Jose State comes through on the West, and I think. They could come back and lose 1 game again this year. They look solid. So,
okay. You remember what do you got?
So, like I said, this is kind of. It's almost like every time a conference needs a team, this is the conference they come to and pluck one. That being said, I do have Boise State winning this, and I understand like we're behind because of the UCF, but. At UCF, they were up by 21. I mean, I understand that you also gave up that 21-point lead, but I think it was just I don't think that's going to be the rest of the season.
Mhm.
I think Boise State's Boise State. Plus, I'm a huge fan of their blue field.
Sure. I just think
Shout
the
out.
defense is bad. You're going to take a big step up, but
Yeah.
Yep.
I do have Nevada also coming in second.
okay.
I just have more confidence in them than I do any of the other ones, except for this. Even in a COVID year, San Jose State, like, who is usually really bad,
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know if that's more the COVID thing than anything else. I mean, because usually you see Utah State up there.
I think that's actually what brought some of these smaller schools into the conversation is the COVID year. You got so many question marks. People sitting now, you're missing days of practice and the chemistry's not. So then that elevated, I think, those small schools to be, okay, maybe if I'm here and here, not like obviously Alabama here, but you got a middle of the pack team and a bottom dwelling team, not scraping the bottom, but, just down there. I think COVID year kind of brought that playing field kind of even, so then that potentially allowed teams like San Jose State to rise up and do well last year.
And I think that's kind of what happened. I mean, the way you look at this is the points for aren't the highest in the conference. Their points against aren't the lowest in the conference. I think they just met stuff at a perfect time.
And I think we'll see that as long, barring any COVID-like stuff again, where it shuts down programs and such.
I mean,
I think we'll see return to normal.
They already are 1-0 this season, so they're off to the right start. So
they play Bishop Sycamore or what?
Yeah, shout out. That's Cam Newton's next stopping point. So, yeah, that's where I have them at.
All right. Keeping on moving.
I did want to touch on. I don't know if you guys got any of that, and I kind of put it a little. I did put a little independent in there.
Okay.
But just because you can't, it's kind of hard not to even have this conversation without talking about Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, agreed. Go ahead.
You seem a little bitter about it. Do you not like Notre Dame?
I do not like Notre Dame, no, but you're right. We've got to talk about them.
You got to touch on it.
I think they fall off.
Fall off completely. Who did they bring in? They brought in a quarterback on a transfer. Do you know who it is off the top of your head?
I don't.
No.
I left them out.
Okay. Yeah, it's escaping me right now. Their team. Oh, Jack Cohn. That's who it was. It wasn't Jack Cohn from. He was Wisconsin. He came obviously because of Graham Mertz. So, Brian Kelly, when the pressure isn't on, the team actually seems to succeed. And I don't even know if the pressure's going to be on. So, I actually have them sneaking in, right around 10 wins. Liberty backing that one up too. I mean, they had a special year too last year, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, independent is Notre Dame. That's all we need to talk about, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Independent is Notre Dame.
You just they bring in talent.
Yep.
Way better talent. Okay, we'll go down Pac-12. Okay, kind of interesting one for me because I did pick USC 1. I think every year everybody gets high on USC, right? And we jump on that train and then they suck, right? I do have them coming in 1 here. Their offense averaged 417 yards per game, 33 points per game. You return a quarterback, Kendon Slovis. Almost threw for 2,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 7 picks in 6 games. That's all they played. So they do have a true freshman, Jackson Dart, so somebody keep your eye out for just in case Slovis doesn't return to form and play well. Running game, dead last in Pac-12, so has to improve. They're under 100 yards per game. You got to run the ball to be successful, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be better in pass protection. They do return 4 starters. Lost one in the first round in the draft. So I believe he's first round, right? Didn't he go late in the first round? Can't remember his name at the moment.
Who are you talking about?
USC guard.
Oh, Elijah Barrett Tucker.
Yes.
Yep.
So did lose him to the NFL.
Yep.
Defense allowed 370 yards per game, 26 points per game. So their secondary should be a strong point for them. So I am high on USC again. Of course, they always underperform, but I'm taking them 1 here. I think Slavis has a good year. 2, Washington Huskies. It was pretty close for me. I wasn't sure which way to go. They returned 9 starters on offense that just averaged just over 400 yards per game and 30 points per game. Returned everyone on the O-line, which was very good last year. Allowed only 1 sack and 10 tackles for loss, but they only played 4 games. But still, I mean, in that small sample, I think that is in 4 games. That's pretty good. So wide receiver and quarterback, a couple question marks there, but has a potential. Their linebacker, Zion Tupuola Fatui, had 7 sacks in 4 games. So look for him to build on that throughout the entire season. He will be a stud and should continue to be one of the top-ranked defenses in the Pac-12. So I have them being up there in the top. They could potentially jump USC. Like I said, I'm not sold on wide receiver group and quarterback play yet, so I have them coming in at 2.
Yeah, so similar picks, I suppose. So I've actually got Oregon, number 1, USC, number 2. Oregon's got just so much talent, and it's hard to really buy into USC, even though they've got a ton of talent. They really should be, a top 8 team every year.
Yep.
But they just underperform, like you said. So, but even underperforming, I think they could get number 2 in the Pac-12. I think Washington's going to be fine. That's a good call out. I mean, they still end up with around 8 wins. My sleeper for the Pac-12 here is actually going to be UCLA. You gotta, and it's funny, over the last couple of years, I haven't really thought about it, but Chip Kelly is there, and what are we at, year 3 or 4 for Chip Kelly? I think this is the 4th year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's finally got some guys on the team that he wanted that'll fit his system. I don't know if they make the biggest jump this year to where they're in the spotlight, but I think UCLA is going to make some upsets that we don't expect and potentially rob one of these guys of the top seed in their respective division here. So, but anyhow, long story short, Oregon, USC, top 2 for the Pac-12. Jimmer.
So mine is, like I said earlier, I kind of did 2 from each division. I went Oregon. Not much to say there. The only thing that I'd worry about, I do believe they lost their starting quarterback. He transferred to Texas Tech, which is that Shaw, if I'm saying it right, Tyler Shaw. Can't remember I can't remember exactly how to say his name, but I know I'm pretty sure he transferred to Texas Tech. Stanford. It's really, really hard to ever write them off. They keep doing their job. Okay. I have USC and then Arizona State in the second part of that division. USC has a ton of talent. I think they're finally starting to put it all together, and I know USC is the name, the brand name, and you think this, that, and the other, and then they let you down. They lose 2 games right out of the gate, and then they reel off 6, 7, 8. The one that's keep bringing you back, kind of like in golf, the one shot that keeps bringing you back to playing. I actually, as one of my surprise picks, I actually have USC in my 4-team playoff.
Yikes.
Okay.
I do.
Ooh.
I know I understand it's swinging, but I feel like
I
it's
don't
going to
think
get
a
mixed
Pac-12
up.
team gets in.
Oh, I guess we'll see.
Well, yeah, if we wait it out, we definitely
Oh,
will see.
right.
That's crazy.
Let's go ahead and let them play.
It
Let's
is
do this
crazy.
weird thing. How about we let them play the game out?
Right, if we
Let's just let them play,
the game.
and then we'll
Crazy.
see where they land.
Crazy world. Lots of games to be played.
So, we're getting pretty damn close to near the end here. I think we want to touch on. Let's get to our playoff picks for the 4-team.
Hold on, we're missing it.
We got to talk SEC.
Yeah, we
baby.
got SEC and Sun Belt, buddy.
Oh, do we still have
Yeah.
SEC?
We have
How did we do all the chump change?
I was
Hey,
going to.
I'm all in to avoid the Sun Belt. I give 0
Yeah,
shits.
we'll skip over that.
I'm going to touch on the Sun Belt, all right?
Okay,
Because I
let's
wrote
do
this
it.
up. This took a
Let's-
long time for me to gather some of this. So I'll jump to the Sun Belt real quick. I have Coastal Carolina. You return almost all of your starters. Grayson McCall, stud QB, is back. Passer 2,400 yards, 26 touchdowns, 3 picks. I think he's do his thing. They're going to run away with it. Wide receiver, Havion Haley led the way. Did 65 catches, almost 1,000 yards, 10 scores. Defense returns 10 starters, allowed just over 350 yards per game and 20 points per game. I think they roll here, take it no problem. Number 2, Raging Cajuns, man. I think they took a big step up that nobody saw them doing last year. They opened up with Texas. I think Texas wins a close game, and then I think Cajuns do pretty well the rest of the year. Their offense averaged just over 420 yards per game, 34 points per game, returns of lots of experience in the wide receiver group. The O-line was one of the best in the nation, 5th in tackles for loss allowed, so kind of sneaky stat that not everybody picks up. Defense should be good. The pass defense only gave up 171 yards per game and picked off 16 passes. How insane is that for a passing? Everything's going to a passing league in college football these days. To hold them under 200 yards a game and 16 INTs. So that's what I got. I don't know if y'all want to go through real quick.
I'll lightly touch on it. Coastal Carolina, I'll give them a little bit of love. I mean, last year they were pretty damn special. And in fact, didn't they? I can't remember who the hell they picked up. They played a pickup game. If you guys recall that during COVID, there was a team that they both lined up. They both their opponents could not play, and they ended up playing each other, and they
end up getting their loss, right?
Yeah, they ended up getting their loss, but they were not afraid to go play this with no practice or anything for that, a game plan for them. That being said, I understand it's Citadel, and I think everyone's beaten up on them for the last 100 years. But they did start off the season by beating Citadel 52-14. Mm-hmm. I think they're Raging Cajuns, or the clear cut too, and actually they're the baseline in that conference and have been for a while. They're the 8-win team that will end up in some version of a Bayou Bowl.
Absolutely.
They'll be playing some sort of bowl down there in the South, and they're the 8-win team, that 8-9 somewhere in that ballpark. So
yep,
that's kind of where I'm at with them.
Yeah. So the only reason to bring up the Sun Belt is Coastal Carolina. They're going to be a good team this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I've got there. I don't give a shit about anybody else.
All right. Well, it's down to our last one, SEC. All right. 1, Alabama, clear cut for me.
Somebody's got to clean your mouth with some soap. Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Kiss your mom with that mouth?
That motherfucker needs Jesus.
Son of a bitch.
Jesus.
Alabama here, clear cut. Lots to replace on the offensive side of the ball, obviously, but Nick Saban will do some Nick Saban things and just reload. We've seen it year after year, time and time again. Lots of talent on the depth chart, obviously. Watch for Bryce Young to be a star. Massive nil contract. So I think they do just fine here. Defense allowed just over 350 yards per game, 19 points per game, and only lost one starter in the secondary. So I think they go number 1 here. 2, Georgia. Offense averaged over 400 yards per game and 32 points per game. I think JT Daniels has a great breakout year at QB. They returned 4 starters on their O-line, and their top rusher, Zamir White, had almost 800 yards and 11 touchdowns. So I think they are number 2 here, and I actually have these two teams making the playoffs. Defense, number 1 against the run. So that's definitely a key, and especially in the SEC, I think, is stopping the run. Allowed 320 yards per game and 20 points per game there, but that's who I have.
Yeah, I don't know. If Jimmer disagreed with this, I think we'd have a problem on this show. But I think Bama's a clear cut. I think they potentially don't lose a game all season, and that includes going up to the championship. But with all that being said, Georgia is going to be a problem. I think Georgia.
Absolutely.
Georgia is they're stacked. They can do everything. I see them beating Clemson. That early part of the year, I think first game, right?
First game tomorrow.
So I think they beat Clemson. And their one loss before the playoff comes when they play Bama in the
you see 2 SEC teams getting
into the 4, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, me too.
Yeah, so I think with the way I'm drawing it out in my head, I think they play Bama twice. They lose the first time, and we have a better shot at a win when they play them in the championship. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at. I do like Georgia, but don't sleep on Florida. I think Florida's going to be really good this year as well. They've got a lot of talent there. Okay. But yeah, Jimmer.
Not too much difference there. I have Georgia I have Georgia winning their division, with Kentucky bringing up the tail end of that, actually. I think Kentucky has made nothing but growth and growth and growth every year. I think they're going to be one hell of a tough one. Florida, you can't sleep on either, of course. I have so Georgia, I actually have them. I don't have them in the 4 because I think they lose to Clemson. Then they're going to lose to Bama at least once, if not both.
When you say both.
If Georgia were to make it to the to the SEC championship game. Bama's way too talented. And Georgia's like there, like don't get me wrong, like they made one hell of a jump. Then it's Bama and then Auburn for me. I don't need to touch too much more on Bama. Roll Tide, baby. Roll Tide.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it's the more expensive version of the Hawkeyes of the South, baby. But Bama has way too much talent. The only if you want to think of something that could be negative or something that could is Bryce Young hasn't played. You know, not in like this, like we're expecting you to play every, and but I think he'll be just fine. It was just like Stroud. It took him a little bit, got his wheels on, and then took off for Ohio State. Same thing here. There's just too much talent. They have too much at every skill position, and their defense is, well, it's coached by Nick Saban. So I don't think there's much else you have to say for that. I mean, I have Bama going to the national championship and winning the national championship again. So,
Yep, agreed. So I guess that leaves us the last segment of the day. Let's talk about some Heisman picks and see where your guys' heads at around that. Rio, who you thinking for your Heisman guys, man?
Yeah, I got 3 guys here to really keep an eye on. Bijan Robinson, of course. I think he's going to be a stud in the Heisman conversation, if not win it all. Sam Howell, QB, North Carolina. I think he continues to light it up. And another one, Breece Hall, man. I think he's going to run tough, put up similar, if not more, numbers, and be better and be in that conversation as well.
So I guess one other thing before we go too deep into the Heisman, Rio, who do you have? We touched on it a little bit. Who's your Final Four?
All right, so I've got an interesting Final Four. I think Georgia and Alabama make it, and I see Clemson making it as well. Now, here's where it gets interesting for that last 4 spot. I think whoever wins the Big Ten gets in if whoever wins the Big 12 has 2 losses.
Has 1 loss. They have no. That's where I disagree with you. If they have,
no, because and that's the thing. You can shut the fuck up and
listen. They have absolutely no love for the Big 12. They've already shown that. So if they have 1 loss, that's all it'll take for them to kick them out, unless it's Oklahoma.
Right. And so,
unless it's Oklahoma.
That's what I'm saying. And like, so if Iowa State wins every game and blows everybody out except loses a close one to Oklahoma, I can see them sliding in over a Big Ten team who has a loss or 2. But if the winner of the Big 12 has 2 losses, it goes whoever wins the Big Ten.
We play man football in Big Ten country, baby.
Yeah, not at Iowa though, huh?
Oh yes, we do. Would you
where's your national championship?
I think we had one of those. I had showed you that. it was back in the 1800s.
So that's why I think it plays out. I think 2 teams from the SEC: Georgia, Alabama, Clemson. And then kind of just depends on what happens there in the Big 12. If the Big 12 beats each other up and you get multiple losses there, then whoever wins that Big 10, either Iowa or Ohio State, will sneak in.
Yeah, so I'll start with the playoff piece here. So Bama, Georgia, locked in. I think that's going to happen. If Clemson loses to Georgia, even if they roll off the rest of the season, I don't know their season is difficult enough to get them in. But if they beat Georgia, Clemson's in. So let's go off the assumption they beat Georgia. We'll go Georgia, Bama, and Clemson, and then I think the 4th pick is going to be Ohio State. Ultimately, It comes down to Bama winning the championship, but I think those 4 are the teams to get in. And I do agree with Jimmer. They are not a big fan of the Big 12, and I think it's because when the Big 12 makes it, they tend to just get their asses whooped in those games. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a big part of it. And like Iowa State, I think is going to be good, but I think they still lose 2 games. Oklahoma, I think will lose at least a game, possibly 2 this year. So I'm not sure the Big 12 makes it in.
Yeah, I do agree in those playoff games, and this is across NFL and in college as well. In the playoff and high pressure situations, you take your defense over your offense any day. And so obviously the Big 12 doesn't know what defense is.
Right.
That's
where the problem is.
We're 500 yards per game, everywhere. So,
on both sides of the ball, yeah. Yeah, and so I guess talking about the Heisman picks here, I've got 3 different options for us to talk about. I've got Spencer Rattler for Oklahoma. Touched on that earlier. Oklahoma just produces Heisman quarterbacks. That's it. It almost doesn't matter who's in there. But he's a stud. He'll get the stats. If Oklahoma even only loses one game, that's really going to boost his stock there. Sam Howell was my number 2. 3,500 yards last year, 70% completion, which is phenomenal. 30 touchdowns, which is pretty good, but he had 38 the year before. He only had 7 picks, though. So
yeah,
he's going to be good.
I do like him.
And they've got some talent. And then just to show a little bit of love to Texas, I do think Robinson
Hook
is going to have a big year.
Horns.
I hadn't followed Texas enough, to be honest with you, last year to realize it. I was telling you this a little bit ago offline here, Rio, but they didn't get him the ball enough.
No.
Even it's a small sample size, but the last 2 games of the season, that man averaged 18 yards a carry, which is crazy. He's talented.
Hook him down.
Yeah,
Out of here.
He's going to be good.
Get
but
out of here.
he's kind of the dark horse for me. He's getting a lot of hype, but in my mind, dark horse to potentially make a run at the Heisman. Jimmer, over to you, baby.
Who's your 4?
First off, let's go ahead and make it very clear. Iowa has 5 national championships: 1921, 22, 56, 58, and 60. So eat a fat.
You know who that sounds similar to?
Who's that?
The Dallas Cowboys. Like, they have championships, but they're a long time ago.
A long time ago.
Not as long as that. What the hell? What the hell? Oh my God!
For how much shit you guys talk, you act like you just won yesterday. God damn. So my 4 are I went out in left field a little bit on one of them. I already leaked that one to you, but the rest is kind of chalky. I have Bama, Clemson, Oklahoma, and then USC was my outlandish one.
Okay.
And I think if everything clicks, it could. Now, I still am gonna back if USC isn't it.
It's gonna be a Big Ten team.
If it's not USC, it's got to be Georgia, right?
I was gonna say Oregon.
Oh,
I was gonna flip flop the 2. Like if they them facing each other, that'll be that. I think that'll be. I'm trying to give some love to the Pac-12
that's fair.
because I think they have a little bit of something there. They have to hit perfect. That just like we already stated before, the Big 12 has to hit perfect if they're gonna do it, or one loss, close, tough loss, and then a bunch of other stuff has to fall in place. I have Bama and Clemson in the national championship and Bama beating it. I know we're tired. Some people may be tired of seeing it. I'm not. I like watching the best football that there is in the college level, and that's those 2 teams playing each other. Okay. And they've made some of the best classics, way better than yours.
Okay. All right.
My Heisman, So I'm gonna go. I'm leaning towards Clemson's DJ Ugulele. I do like Spencer Rattler. I mean, I think that's more chalk talk than anything. But there was, yeah, I'm just gonna stick with those 2. Those are my 2. If I'm gonna go to outside one, it will be Sam Howell.
I was gonna say, give us one more because we all have 3.
Yeah, I would say my outside one would probably be Sam Howell.
Sam Howell's a stud. So he's gonna be in the conversation all year for sure.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap it up, any last words, gentlemen?
So we've been closing our segments.
Yeah, closing segment. With it makes sense if you don't think about it.
So I'm gonna go ahead and take
turn, right?
Danny wants one more day to go ahead and think up his good solid one. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you one because I have a bunch of them where I'm employed.
You guys just have way more good stories about your work situation than I do. I'm sorry.
So before I get to the part where it says makes sense if you don't think about it, I watched a man get suspended 3 days from work, no pay, for improper use of vacation time. We hadn't really heard it. There was a little context. At one point you could use it either which way, personal, vacation, just have the time. That's all I needed if you miss a day. So this man gets this man basically pissed off a manager, and then gets suspended because well prior to that, a week before, and then has and then calls in sick, and then that's all he has left is vacation. Like later on down the road, well, they tag him up. They got him back. They put a red bullseye on his back, and they gave him a 3-day suspension. There wasn't a policy in the book. There was a policy sent out literally, what was it, 7-8 hours later. And this is, if it makes sense, if you don't think about it, it was titled Tribal Knowledge.
Tribal knowledge, huh?
Tribal knowledge. Not by the book, not by the old HR one. The blue book has the whole works in there. No, you're supposed to just know. And it's tribal knowledge. Makes sense if you don't think about it.
That's crazy. You sound like you work where I work. That's crazy.
That is nuts, right?
Man.
A small world.
The common things. Well, good shit, Jimmer. That makes sense if you don't think about it. I can't imagine getting written up for something that hasn't been in effect for 9 hours until 9 hours from now. So that's
yeah. Oh, not written up, suspended. And then 9 hours later, we get an email that says, you know, it is a policy now, and it was tribal knowledge, so that's the reason why, you know, someone got punished for it.
Man,
beautiful,
nuts.
beautiful.
Well, hey, everyone out there who's listening, we just want to give you a shout out. Thank you very much for listening to the official third round of podcasts from 3 Gig Sports. Just 3 guys in a garage. Wanted to put some content out there. So thanks again, and you'll be hearing from us soon.
Reach out on social media. Follow us, like us. Give us your thoughts, your picks. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. So let us know.
TikTok. Let's get it.
Hey, and one last thing. Give us a shout. Throw some things out on social media and things like that. We are one of the few groups of guys here that gives you sports content in the Midwest. It's all New York, East Coast, LA, West Coast, California. There's not enough in the Midwest. We want to build the presence, really get our feelings out there of how we're thinking around here. So,
and we'll get yours out there.
And we will get yours out there as well. So, hey, thanks again. See you next time.